Hello and welcome back. I'm Dr. Lori Williams. Today I want to talk to you about how people are not inherently bad. So, most people, essentially, we've been taught, as society, we've been taught a story of sorts that people are either good or bad. Um, and essentially, it might make sense to you on the surface, but when you really truly start to look into the human behavior aspect of things, you're going to start to see that human beings are just not that simple. We're actually very complex. And to compartmentalize um, anyone into, just two labels is very limiting. Um, so, what we usually call as, something bad in somebody else, like a bad characteristic, um, is usually their own pain coming through. It's their conditioning, their own fear, and essentially their own survival patterns. There was something in their childhood that they felt that they had to survive, and this, it created this persona of who they are and how they respond to the world around them, even into adulthood, unless they actually take the time to look at those patterns and begin to change them at the nervous system level, because this is nervous system programming that I'm talking about. It's not something mental, it's not something intentional. It's so automatic because it's ingrained and programmed into your nervous system. So, like, no one, there's not one person in this world that is born like cruel or defensive, condescending, manipulative. They're not born that way. That's something that is created, like I said, to keep them safe. They're learned adaptations, and it got them through. It served them on some level at some point in their life. So, if a child, I'm just going to give you an example here, but if a child learns that love is conditional, they may grow into somebody who, an adult who tries to manipulate for approval. If a child learns that speaking the truth is not safe, they become adults who lie or hide things or deflect. People like that struggle with in their past with speaking the truth. They struggle with being able to take on responsibility, accountability. Those are the kinds of people that struggle with that. Many behaviors that people label as bad are just actually like a protective strategy that the person has had to adapt to in order to survive. So, like, control can become um, somebody that's very controlling. It can come from a place of feeling as though they never had control over things in their life, never had control over their own safety in their life. All of that comes back to our human need for safety, and emotional safety, physical safety. That is our core foundational need as human beings, and anything that we feel disrupts that safety, um, that's programmed into the, go through the nervous system programming, is going to come out as what we call a bad behavior. So, like, people pleasing can be a fear of abandonment, um, but these behaviors don't make someone evil. It just means that the nervous system has learned survival before truth. It learned that it had to keep you safe. It had to keep you um, being able to, continue going through this life. So, for it to keep you safe, it had to, like I said, had to give you these attributes to keep you safe in that time of your life. But here's the twist to it, though, is just because you can understand where someone is coming from, that their patterns are um, part of their programming, it doesn't mean that harm is okay. And this is why it is so important to still maintain boundaries, still maintain accountability, um, and to be able to protect yourself too. You're not anybody else's emotional or verbal punching bag, and it is not your responsibility, just because you can see the patterns, to accept that it's okay for other people to lash out you in a nasty way. The point of this video, the point of why I wanted to make this video, was to help you, instead of saying, like, why is this person so bad? Why is this, why are they doing this to me? And to start to realize that they're not actually doing it to you. It's just a reflection of what's going on within themselves. You could pretty much, if you sit back and watch somebody's patterns, you can pretty much tell exactly what happened in their childhood. because of the way that they act and how they process things. Um, so my hope through this video is to kind of two parts. A, rather than taking on the blame for yourself, realizing that it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with the other person. So don't take it personally. And the second part is that, to be able to show a little bit more compassion, that the behavior doesn't have to be okay for you to be able to show compassion to the understanding that why somebody is doing the things that they're doing. And the truth of it is we need more compassion in this world. It's something we are greatly lacking in this world. And it's not hard to give compassion to somebody else, to be able to say, hey, you know what? You don't even have to say this to them, but just say to yourself, it's like, I see who you are. I see why you do the things you do, but I still choose not to take it on. Um, and the truth of it is the real work of becoming an adult is unlearning these patterns. The work that I do is to help people unravel these patterns and to shed these layers that have been inherited throughout their childhood. And the truth of it is most people aren't ready for this work. Most people, there's very few, I would say like 1% of the 1% is actually ready to face this, because it becomes our identity. It becomes part of who we are, or who we think we are. And you're just unaware of the patterns that's essentially running you. So there's this fear behind it that it's like, who am I without this? And the truth of it is you just get to be the most true and authentic version of yourself, which is who you were created to be. You weren't created to be in this survival. The survival helps you to get from, through your childhood, and through obviously, issues in your life, parts of your life that you needed to have these patterns. But in most cases, as an adult, it's no longer serving you in any way, shape, or form. Essentially, like I said at the beginning, people are not inherently bad, but until someone becomes aware of the conditioning, the pain is going to, the, the pain will continue to make decisions for them. And essentially, this it could ruin jobs, it can ruin relationships, it can even ruin like your own self-confidence, because most people, when they feel bad, or at least this is my perspective on people, and maybe I'm a little bit hopeful, but I'm going to hold on to that hope. Um, but most people, even after they are nasty to somebody else, they have regret, because it goes against who they authentically are. So just keep this in mind the next time you feel that somebody is attacking you or treating you unfairly, that it has absolutely nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. They're just showing you their pain. You can have compassion. Like I said, make sure there's accountability. Make sure that there's boundaries. You do not have to tolerate it. But I hope this video helps you to understand it. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you back here next time.